Good evening. Welcome to the Southbridge School Committee meeting of February 27th, held here in the Robert McKinnon Council Chambers at 7 p.m. In relative to the Massachusetts General Laws 30A, Section 20F, and for the benefit of the public, this meeting is being recorded by both audio and video methods. Welcome. Roll call.
Carla De La Cruz Davila.
Present.
Kathy La Priori.
Present.
Andrew Murch.
Present.
Aaron DeMello, present. Martina Shea.
Present.
John Shaw.
Present.
Steve Kabinski.
Present.
We are all here. We have a quorum. Approval, pledge allegiance to the flag. Can't miss that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have minutes from December? January? No, we didn't meet in January. It snowed. And this is the 27th of February. We didn't do very well in February either. Do I have any comments on the minutes? Yes, sir.
Under questions on the back of the page, Jasmine does not have an E at the end on her name. Jasmine Rivas is misspelled.
Oh, okay.
There's no E at the end of her name.
Anything else? Okay. Citizens Forum. Do we have anyone from the audience who wishes to speak?
My name is Andrew Murch. I'm at 101 High Street, second floor. I'm a parent of a freshman in Southbridge High School. I did attend and helped organize and set up the community forum that was held this past Saturday. Unfortunately, it was not well attended. But contrary to comments made in last night's councilors forum, it was not primarily a bashing of the council chair. Councilor Rivas was also in attendance, helped run and set up the meeting. What it was initially planned was we were going to have a lot of parent and student participation, and we were going to split everybody up into groups and try to work on helping students and parents filing bullying complaints and Title IX complaints and what would constitute and what is needed for those. Those were reviewed in depth. Because sometimes it is hard to navigate bureaucracy. So primarily it was going to be to help support the community. Unfortunately, not garnering a lot of attendance. Primarily was just reviewed where to find the paperwork necessary and the forms, both on the Southbridge Public Schools website, as well as any Title IX complaints typically have to go through the U.S. Department of Education Civil Rights. So if going through the school system does not bear the results that you need, that was the next step. So it was just kind of reviewing the paperwork essentially, for the most part. There did end up, a member in the audience did bring up the EHS meeting from past Wednesday, which then did garner some discussion on people's feelings on it. And, people spoke their piece at that meeting, and people spoke their piece at this forum, because freedom of speech does not necessarily garner freedom from opinion or freedom of consequence. So just because people have an opinion or a perspective doesn't make it wrong, it's just different. Different is not wrong. I watched the town council meeting last night, and then I see the chairman of the town council try to say that the movement, this support that we have going is divisive, and that it's not, it doesn't line up with the things that he's doing as the town council chair. And again, that's fine, but I didn't see him at that forum. I don't see him in the audience today, and I haven't seen him come to a school committee meeting in quite some time since the last budget was proposed. So, you know, that's your perspective, and again, it's different, it's not wrong, but at the end of the day, everybody has the same principal goal, which is to help Southbridge, the community of Southbridge, take back the schools and take back control. People may have a different approach, but I'm not going to, as a parent that has had his issues with the district in my son's education, from issues with his IEP to not being followed, to just the setting up the IEP, which was a pain in the butt. I've had my fair share of problems. I've had my fair share of great work with teachers and work with administrators. So I've had the ups and I've had the downs. My son's been in this district his entire school career. So I've seen how failing it was at the elementary level before receivership, and how we're still in the same situation now, where my son, I'm starting to wonder whether or not he's going to be okay to go to college, because there's still so much of his education is lagging from where he actually needs to be prepared to enroll in even an associate's program. It's very concerning, and we've been under receivership for 6 years. I'm going to have an opinion, and I'm going to try to put my best foot forward as a parent for my son. And the community has rallied around it, and it has been met with contention at the council level. I sat here on February 12th and asked the chairman of the town council to help lead us, not to lead us, but to walk with us, and as parents. And I haven't, other than rhetoric and circumstance, and one meeting with a different district in receivership, I need more, and I need be involved. The chair of the school committee made it known that it sounded like when the town council chairman said he had a meeting with Holyoke, that it was a surprise, and that the chair was not aware previously, found out at EHS. And if that's the case, how is that working with the school committee? If you're not even communicating with the chairman of the school committee about a meeting, I'm presuming you weren't invited, because you would probably have an agenda item regarding that, because you have a bad habit of communicating with your committee. So with that being said, I'm not looking for one person or a couple of people to lead this charge. I'm looking for help so we can all walk together. And that's not only from the council side. I'm going to be honest. As we've heard for a couple years that we're getting training, that our school committee is going to be educated on how they can function. And I have not seen anything other than, well, the state's working on it. That's what's been presented. That may be the most accurate information. But quite frankly, if my son says his homework isn't due for a while, I'm going to wait till then. It's procrastination. I don't let him do it. Get it done, get it over with. And if you need some more help, pester your teachers for help, because that's what they're there for. I think the chair of the school committee needs to put a harder foot down and demand the help that we've been asking for 2 years. It's not COVID anymore. We can get the training. You can come out here. Believe it or not, we have a projector, and I'm sure we can hook up a Microsoft Teams meet to get a presenter if it has to be remote. But that's up to the school committee chair. And I understand that the state hasn't been cooperative, but sometimes I get stubborn parts that don't want to come off. I got to make them cooperate. It's the same principle. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of that. There seems to be just a lot of a meeting with there seems to be, from the chairman's announcements over the course of the last couple of years. There seems to be a lot. I've met with the receiver. This is what he said. We move on. I've met with the receiver. I talked to the state. This is what they said. We move on. There hasn't been a lot of action or movement. We elected the school committee for you guys to do something. Now, there isn't a lot of control and governance over the district. That's fine. That's the tough predicament we're in right now, and that's what we're fighting. But at the end of the day, there is procedure. There is your board. There are subcommittees. There are things that this body can do to create more transparency or force it and force to get the help. There are things that you can do that haven't been done in 2 years. So it's kind of a, I see a lot of this action. The government in this town has been acting reactively to the situation. Students walk out of school. Let's react. Let's govern. Teachers start collaborating their students together and helping them navigate this tough arena that is local government and politics. They get shut down because we have to react the way we need to. But we're going to react this way because we're reacting. We're not being proactive. Governance in schools in particular, its premise is being proactive to student learning. That's what a proper school district is supposed to do. Whether it comes to the classroom lessons, or the lessons you learn in the hallway, or the lessons you learn in the lunchroom. It's proactive learning. How in the world is the town of Southbridge, town council, and the town of Southbridge school committee just reacting? That's all this last month has been, is a reaction. Now, I understand as parents and other former teachers, students, we've coordinated together to be proactive in moving this forward and trying to get our schools back. Why the hell are the people that we elected to these boards, governing reactively? This shouldn't have been an issue. I should not be standing here trying to motivate these boards to do things not just their way, but with the community. I don't follow people blindly just because they say they're doing it the right way. I look at it objectively and think of what the best approach may be. I don't care who's saying it or leading the charge. It needs to be a proactive measure. And there is only reaction. And as a citizen of this town, I pay my taxes. I've lived here for 12 years. This has become my new hometown. I have lived in this town longer than I have lived anywhere else in the 34 years that I've been here. And I've lived all up and down the East Coast. This has become my hometown. So I am sick and tired of rhetoric. I am sick and tired of, I've got this. And I'm really sick and tired of the lack of decorum that people who hold an elected office conduct themselves with in a public forum. You were elected to lead by example, not lead through rhetoric and bullying and intimidation. And again, it's a matter of perspective. Just because this is my opinion doesn't make it wrong, just different. Diversity of opinion is not wrong. Diversity of approach is not wrong. Diversity in and of itself is not wrong. It's what made this town an all-American town. It's what made this country one of the greatest nation, and still, in my opinion, one of the top places for opportunity in the world, no matter where you're coming from, was working together in a sense of community, and our leaders holding themselves to a different standard and saying, this is the way you conduct yourself when you need to get things done.
Andrew, can we let some other people have?
I'm finishing my sentence and then I'll be done. So I call on the school committee and the town council to work together. There's not been a joint school committee town council meeting since the last time we appointed a member in 2019. So I hope that the town council chairman honors his word, and I hope that he is willing to work with the school committee and the community and the school committee chair to help us move forward, because we're going to remember if you don't. This is an election in June.
Andrew, can I ask you one question? You said something right at the beginning that Your meeting was to train people how to fill out the forms for bullying and Title IX, and no, Title IX is very difficult. And
Yes.
you were disappointed that a lot of people didn't come.
Correct.
And for that kind of training, I would be very disappointed also. Is there some way that you could maybe get with the cable people and somebody from the school system or somebody else to help you do just a short video that we can play on the website, how to do this?
I don't see where I don't see where that would be an issue. But to be perfectly honest, maybe, I would definitely love to coordinate with the cable department and hopefully the school system to try to figure that out. But it also may not be a bad idea, and this could be something that maybe the chair can take the lead and see if we can't do it cohesively and work together on it. This is part of, being proactive.
I was just thinking that it would be more just a one person and a whiteboard saying, do this, this, this.
Yeah.
That we could do something together, but that something that you could refer back to, that you could say, look back on video number 443, and you'll see what to do.
Anything to help parents navigate would definitely be helpful and beneficial.
Okay, let's talk about it later then.
So, thank you.
Good evening. Just to add a little bit to what Ms.
Excuse me, your name?
I'm sorry. My name is Olga Torres Lopez. I was one of the teachers that was walked out of the building at the high school.
We still do the name and the...
I apologize.
That's okay.
I just wanted to add that Counselor Rivas has only been understanding, supportive, and present for everyone involved. She has moved heaven and earth to make sure the teachers and students are heard and feel like they have some support. We should be working as a team and be united. Jasmine has only been trying to do that. That's my personal opinion. I just wanted to add that. Again, good evening. My name is Olga Torres Lopez, and I was a Spanish teacher at Southbridge High School. I have 16 years of teaching experience, 5 districts. Never have I walked away from a school in the middle of a school year. 1, because it is unprofessional, and 2, because I know how traumatic and detrimental that is for students to deal with and continue with their educational process. On Wednesday, January 31st, 2024, after being sick on and off for a few weeks, physically and emotionally, and after 2 meetings with HR to discuss the demoralizing and toxic atmosphere that is felt in the high school by both students and teachers due to Mr. House's scare tactics and profoundly inappropriate use of power, and during which I was basically told that things wouldn't change and that sometimes we have to realize when it is time to move on, I submitted my letter of resignation to Dr. Ortiz and Mr. Metzger at 7 a.m., with the last day being Friday, February 16th. Before I sent the email, I called Dr. Ortiz personally to let him know about my decision, and he asked me, effective immediately, to which I responded, no, 2 weeks. His sigh of relief said it all. I went in that morning ready to let my students know that I would not return after February break. Working with these students, I have come to recognize their triggers, their fears, and how easily they dysregulate with change. I was able to teach through 4th period, during which time I informed my students of my decision and gave them the time and space to process what that meant. During transition between period 4 and 5, a fight broke out between 2 male students, and both Mrs. Linton and I separated the students. One of them ended up in my room, where Mr. House and the rest of the admin team stepped in to remove him and escort him to the SSC. I walked behind them to make sure the student followed through, as they tend to lash out harshly at Mr. House. On my way back to my classroom, Mr. House informed me that Mr. Metzger would be in to see me in my classroom. I said, of course, and thank you, and walked away. Mr. Metzger and Mr. Hipper, one of the BPs in the building, were waiting at my door. They asked me to step into my classroom and proceeded to tell me that they were accepting my resignation, putting me on administrative leave, that I would get paid for my 2 weeks, but that I had to leave right there and then. I asked to finish the day with my students, and they said no. They told me to pack as much as I could carry out, as I could only make 1 trip, and that I would be escorted to the door. They asked that I not speak to anyone on my way out. I packed as much as I could and followed them out as my students watched through the glass panes of other classrooms. Why was I treated like I had committed a crime? Why traumatize students by making them watch their teachers be walked out of the building that is supposed to be their safe space like convicts? I had stated in my letter that I would use the 2 weeks to transition the students and to prepare any materials needed for the new teacher. I did resign, but not because I wanted to, but because Ms. Linton and I both were bullied into submission by Mr. House, and we had reached a breaking point. The school feels like a totalitarian state. Teachers are shamed for being absent for medical conditions and diseases. Teachers are told they don't care about the kids if they don't conform to Mr. House, when in reality, it is Mr. House, the one who doesn't care. We've been told plenty of times to keep moving forward no matter what students don't get. They will catch up is his answer to our questioning of students who need extra help. Please show me how, because the numbers and the data prove otherwise. Mr. House and the rest of the admin team have gone as far as to say that I am a threat to the students. I'd like for Mr. House to explain that to me. How is Mr. House and Mr. Villar's decision in the best interest of these students? Why was all of the students' hard work thrown out in front of them? Why are their middle school teachers now teaching 9th grade math classes? Why are the dean of students from the middle school patrolling the hallways? Why are Mr. House and the admin team struggling to get control of classes that both Ms. Linton and I had very few issues with up until January 30th? Dr. Villar and Mr. House are lying in their letters, presentations, and meetings to the public and the town council. Mr. Villar straight up lied in his PowerPoint to the town council that we have monthly emotional support meetings for students when we haven't had one. The corruption of members of the admin team is all around. I have always wondered why, for a school of 400 students who are never all present at the same time, as our attendance data shows, do we need 5 administrators plus Mr. House? Why, if Mr. House is only the director of education, is he the one to oversee any and all behavior issues? Why does Mr. House feel comfortable calling students criminals? Administration shames kids for unjust moral character when we have cheaters promoted to admin on staff. The fear that is felt when Mr. House or administration walks into any room in the building is debilitating for the adults. Can you imagine what it's like for our students? How many times did teachers walk out of professional development meetings sobbing because what Mr. House was saying and asking us to do completely contradicts good pedagogy, promising pedagogy, trauma-informed pedagogy, culturally responsible pedagogy? He would compare us to districts that were nothing like ours and would say, we can get there. Mr. House's repeated phrase of trains running on time as a description of efficiency is noted in reference to Benito Mussolini, Italy's fascist leader and Hitler ally. When our teachers reported that swastikas were being drawn all over the classrooms, Mr. House never reported the incident to HR. Mr. House has a pattern of using war dictatorship references during PD. The slide presentations have images of prisoners of war. The 2 books he continually gets his brilliant ideas from are over 20 years old and have faced significant backlash over the years. Mr. House has gone as far as to add himself to teacher formative evaluations, sometimes without even informing those teachers. On top of that, he will give needs improvement and make comments on how teachers are not doing their job when he hasn't even stepped foot in the classroom to observe. Mr. Linders had 14 counts of inappropriate behavior filed against him under a Title IX. That was a sealed and confidential file, and someone at district level unsealed the document illegally and showed Mr. Linders, who in turn then approached one of the staff members who was part of the grievance and confronted them about it, bringing up information that was in the sealed document. There's constant avoidance of IEPs and 504s by Mr. House under his teachings and behavior management system. Mr. House wants us to follow his view of teaching, and that is to not follow kids and staff accommodations to the letter of the law. That is illegal, and any educator who truly knows the law and wants to keep their license should be standing up and saying no. Most teachers can't speak up because they're targeted and retaliated against through evaluations, duties, and even dismissal. In the past almost 30 days, I have spoken to past and present students, parents, educators, colleagues, and even administrators of Southbridge schools, and it pains me to hear their stories. Some were let go for standing up and speaking out about injustices and to students and faculty. Some were-
Excuse me, you're past your 5
I'm
minutes.
sorry.
Do
Can I
we
make a
have-
motion to extend the
Yes, do I
speaker's
have
time?
another?
I'm
All right,
sorry.
you get
Thank
another 5 minutes.
Thank you. Some were let go for standing up and speaking out about injustices to students and faculty. Some were made to sign non-disclosure agreements in order to be able to move on from the district. And some chose to walk away feeling like there was nothing else that they could do. I couldn't. As I was driving away from the building that Wednesday morning, a text came into my phone saying that the school had gone nuts, that even extra police had to be called in. The students had revolted and were angry at how I had been treated. I was told that students were done and that they felt disrespected and unheard, that it was time to make themselves heard by Dr. Villar, Mr. House, and the rest of the admin team. This is just the tip of the iceberg. You need to understand that although the love, respect, and admiration that students have for me has sparked a fire under them, their protests are not about me. They are fed up, they are tired, and they are ready to speak. That is why I'm here. I'm not from Southbridge, but Southbridge now is ingrained in me. As an educator, a mother, a grandmother, and an advocate for education, I'm here to speak for those who won't, for those who can't because of this fear of Mr. Villar, Mr. House, and the rest of the admin team. Are you ready to listen and act? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I also have a few statements from students. I don't know if you wanted to read one or two, or do you want me to just turn them in to you and you can take a
Well, why
look?
don't you just give them to us?
Okay.
Do you have enough copies, or we could
I
make? we
have
can
one
cop-
copy, yeah,
We can
I
have
have one
copies
copy of
made.
each.
Why don't you just give them to me, and I'll have copies made. Thank you very much. Oh, my. No, it looks like she has enough copies.
They're all different statements.
Oh, they're different
They're all
statements.
different statements.
Okay, why don't we
There's
each take
a couple
one?
teacher ones, and there's like, I think 10 student ones.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see if I can see some way to get these to the rest of the team.
I only got half.
Huh? You only got half? All right. Hello.
Hi, good evening. My name is Brittany Davison. I'm here to step forward and speak on what has been going on within the town and at some specific recent meetings, more so the meeting last night with the town council. Some of the members have been attempting to perpetuate a false narrative that Councilwoman Rivas is trying to divide the community into sides. I've worked with Jasmine on other community meetings and have spoken to her about the issues that are going on within the schools, and she has never tried to divide anyone or speak out against anyone other than the malpractices with administration. She has been trying to bring the community together to show support for the students and teachers and let them know they are not alone. That is the purpose of the community forums, to provide them resources and support. I understand that this isn't the sole purpose of tonight's meeting or the school committee's responsibility alone. As a member of the community, I'm asking the committee and the people in this room for two things. One, we need to speak up and end this false narrative of division. Two, let's use our voices to advocate for, speak with, and support our students, parents, and teachers, and show them they are not alone, and we are here to fight this battle with them together. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Can we have your address?
23 South Street.
23 South Street? Our neighborhood.
My name is Bethany Linton. I am the other teacher who recently resigned. If you have not seen it yet, I spoke at the last 2 town council meetings ago, so I'm not going to tell my story yet again because this is not about me. However, I do have 17 anonymous letters from teachers who currently work at the school, who are too afraid to sign their names or come and speak publicly. I have 3 with me tonight. I have a digital copy that I can send to the chair if that's okay.
Oh,
or
please, yes.
that way you can easily share it with everyone.
That's the best way for us to share information.
Okay, perfect. Do you want me to just leave these with you? Do you want me to read a quick one, give a gist?
Why don't you select one and then send the rest of them to us digitally? That would be perfect.
Absolutely.
Now, let me understand this again. This is from a teacher in the middle high school.
Yes.
Okay.
It says, "Dear School Committee, I've been an educator for many years, the last few being in Southbridge. I understand that Mr. House appears to have the middle school under control and has made growth with this set of freshmen who have just come into high school, who he bragged about as the class who has been with him from the start and how great they are. However, it was clear their growth was not as great as he boasted when we began our diagnostic run and found that most of our freshmen are on a third grade reading and math level. How much could they have really grown? It doesn't match the data that was presented to us at the end of last year. Mr. House's system does not work and is not appropriate for high school students. Furthermore, it is based in pedagogy that is long outdated and proven to be biased against Latinx and POC trained people of color, training them to be prisoners and workers who comply, not critical thinkers or bosses or creators. This set of freshmen are sadly the furthest behind I've seen in over 10 years in education, not just academically, but socially and emotionally. They cannot problem solve or cope with change because they've never been allowed to move or speak in a classroom or even lunch with their peers for 4 years under House. They have no resiliency or perseverance because they have not been pushed and have only ever been graded on completion and effort. The best and the brightest of these students often break down in tears, having no emotional regulation multiple times a week, as they're now failing all of their high school classes and don't understand because they're doing their work, but most of it's not right and they can't pass basic tests. But correct has never been House's way. It is his way or the highway. There's no room for questions or thinking from teachers or students under Mr. House. He leads them in fear, and that worked in the middle school, but they aren't afraid of him anymore. That's what you're seeing now. Yet he grasps tighter and comes down harder. The more he grasps, the more slip through his fingers. He has turned learning into something taboo for our students. Most importantly, he forgot the most important thing for our students. He forgot to teach them how to be students. These students cannot and will not do anything without a direction under his 3-2-1 system. They will not think because they have been taught not to. They're given 30 directions in a class of 40-something minutes. These students have more ground to make up than any other class coming through because House has destroyed their sense of and their love of learning. Finally, it is important to note that out of 24 teachers I spoke to this week alone, dated February 1st, 2024, 20 of them have stated that while they love Southbridge and our students, many veterans, they cannot and will not continue to work under Mr. House. 9 teachers have already left so far this year alone, with 4, including myself, actively looking right now. This school will never gain stability if we do not invest in the social emotional learning of our students and start respecting our teachers. The way that Mr. House interacts with students and teachers is not only unprofessional, but is traumatizing by nature. As previously stated, Mr. House leads through fear. You think that he is turning the school around, and you're right, he's turning it around straight back to the 1920s when people of color and women needed to shut up, sit down, and know their place. Please do not allow our students and teachers to continue to be abused by this man any further. Give them back their opportunity to learn and grow as humans. Sincerely, I'm one of House's favorite guys.
What is that system he's using?
So it's from a book called Teach Like a Champion, which has evolved and is now actually on a volume 3.0, which acknowledges that there was many biases in the system and that it was not great for traumatized students, which is his insistence that it is. And basically the concept behind it all is like 100% of our students can meet 100% of expectations 100% of the time, and anything less is unacceptable, which is an okay belief. And we do know that our students are capable of great things. And that's not what this teacher is saying, nor is it what I'm saying that they're not. What we're saying is that giving a high schooler, a 12th grader, someone who's 18 years old, directions like this. Ladies and gentlemen, I need your eyes on me and your voices off in 3, 2, 1. Oh, your eyes are on me, thank you. Thank you for having your pen up and ready. Okay, we can begin. I have to do that 30 to 40 times, that is a direct quote, 30 to 40 times per class, and anything less is unacceptable, and that is what was written in my evaluation.
I'm sorry, can I just clarify, you're required to do it 30 to 40 times, or it's necessary that many times?
No, that is the expectation from Mr. House, and we are pushing that. Not only is that not appropriate for a high school student, but when are we supposed to teach? We're not teaching our kids how to think, how to work for themselves, how to do anything. And if they don't meet your eyes when you ask for them to meet your eyes, or they're still writing that sentence that they thought of, or a question, and you ask them to stop moving their pencil, because yes, we have to tell them what to do with their pencil, nope, they spoke out of turn. You have your first redirection, and you only, well, this part has changed numerous times now throughout the year when we brought up the fact that it was violating IEPs and other things of that nature. The slideshow itself has changed 6 times, and we didn't realize they were changing them on the shared drive. And we do have evidence that it once said that on the 4th time you redirect them, they needed to go to SSE, period. So if you whispered to your friend or you didn't pick your pencil up, 3 seconds, you have to comply. By the way, that is the language that is used in our summer training. We were told we were training them to comply. And I pushed on the language saying we don't train children, we teach them. And I was sort of met with an eye roll of, semantics, PC. But yeah.
It sounds like something you do once at the beginning of class.
I would even go so far, we do have some struggling students. We do have students who have ADHD, we have students who have disabilities, right? Sometimes they do need a reminder. Do I need a full class reminder 30 to 40 times, and that is the requirement, or they will not succeed? That is literally what he said in our training, because I'm one of the teachers, he took over my coaching as I was uncoachable, because I pushed back on the fact that I struggled, try to even do it that many times, and believe me, I try I can print all my evaluations for you. Every single one said I got a couple in, right? And every single one, my first one, I was meeting expectations on paper because 100% of my kids were working. 100% of my kids were actively engaged in math, by the way. I teach freshman math. When they came in for an unannounced observation. When they came in, they were having a debate about math. And the comment from Mr. House was that my room was out of control because these students were raising their voices, having a discussion about math. They were passionately discussing math, and that was a problem. And ironically, he got sucked right in. He walked over intending to clearly tell them to calm down, and immediately started debating the math with them. Isn't that what a classroom should look like? There's a paragraph in my evaluation saying that the culture of my classroom was going to erode if I didn't start using their 3, 2, 1. And then House was in my classroom every time he had a chance. And I was moved into his PD group. I was told I was uncoachable. And frankly, the more he was in my classroom, the less learning happened. Kids weren't arguing about math anymore. So, yeah. Any other questions? Can I just grab your email after? Is it on the website to send you the other?
Yeah. Our things are
Just on the website, it's right, I'm sure.
on the website,
Perfect.
and it's just our first initial, last name at, just like yours, at southbridgepublic.org.
Perfect. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Do we have anyone else who wishes to speak? Yes. Name and address?
My name is Max Ortiz. I reside at 465 Charlton Street, and I'm a 9th grade student from Southbridge High School. I come in front of the school committee tonight to talk about my experiences, and what I've seen so far as a student at Southbridge High School. I have seen countless accounts with my own eyes of students, teachers, and even parents being belittled, being made fun of, being yelled at, screamed at by admin. The work and learning environment that admin have created at Southbridge High School from a student's perspective is, well, traumatizing, because the way that the admin treat their students and teachers is traumatizing and extremely unprofessional for students, not only students to have to witness, and students to have to witness, to have to be this behavior directed toward teachers, to have to be that directed toward them. It's awful, the amount of things that admin have said to students and teachers. Every day when you walk into Southbridge High School, you have to be scared, nervous, scared that you will be belittled, targeted upon, made fun of, targeted by admin. And I will also highlight that within the last 30 days, since everything has started, it has only gotten worse, a lot worse. I've seen with my own eyes students be physically touched by admin, be physically pushed by admin, other admin not doing anything about it. I've seen students crying as they were taken away from admin. One of those accounts was because the student did not put their hood down within 5 seconds of an admin telling them to. Another account was because they did not pick up their pencil within 5 seconds of an admin telling them to do that. Coming into classrooms, taking over classrooms from teachers, as if they don't trust teachers, as if they don't trust, it's to a certain extent, it's like if you really don't trust those teachers at that point, I guess this might be kind of a silly statement to say, because obviously you need teachers, but why even, if they're going to come in and take over the classrooms, why even have teachers at that point? Because the way that they treat them, the way that they treat students is awful. It concerns me as a student seeing this, knowing that there are a lot of youth in Southbridge that have already been and experienced trauma and anxiety, because Southbridge Public Schools is only making it worse every day, every single day as you come in. They can't be themselves. They're not allowed to express themselves. We are not allowed to express themselves. Teachers are not allowed to express themselves in any way other than this strict rule guideline put in place by admin, because according to admin, when teachers, and I've heard it as a student's perspective, they've said it right in front of the staff and teachers, when you teach by our perspectives, it makes you a better teacher because you're teaching by our standards. Does that make any sense? In my opinion, absolutely not. Because the teachers are the ones who are sitting and learning, teaching us every day, interacting with us every day, not admin. Going in to a classroom for 10 minutes to sit there, that's not engaging in students. The teachers are the ones that engage with students. So why can't the teachers be the ones to decide for their personal classrooms and their personal groups, going off of what they know about the students, how they think they should teach the students? Because admin come in with this little, I like to refer to it as like a procedure book. and they like to treat students and teachers as if everyone's like a robot. You know, you have this programming thing, and everyone's supposed to react to the same exact program. There are roughly, cannot think about the exact number off the top of my head, but I believe if I have it right, there's roughly 460 kids at Southbridge High School, give or take however many. So that's not going to work with all those amount of kids sitting there and teaching teachers that you're supposed to go off of this script book. And when teachers or students violate that script book, it's almost like a form of harassment that, admin will sit there over students and say, oh, you didn't turn the book in 5 seconds. You didn't pick up your pencil in 5 seconds. Oh, that's going to be one minor, major referral. Make a good choice. Make a good choice. Why? Because they didn't pick up their pencil in 2 seconds. Whenever anything gets taken to admin about it, their responses is to not care. They've stated in public addresses over and over, Southbridge Public Schools, that they care about students and they care about teachers and what they say, but their actions don't show it at all. They like to come up with their...
Can I make a motion to extend the speaker's time, please?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No problem.
Thank you. They like to push their pride. It's supposed to stand for professionalism, respect, integrity, discipline, and excellence, which admin show none of those at all. Yet they have the audacity to say that over every day on the morning announcements.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Their pride for Southbridge Public Schools, or Southbridge High School, because to be honest, I'm actually not even sure if it's even district-wide. I know it's school-wide, but it is professionalism, respect, integrity, discipline, and excellence. And which,
Oh, yeah, I've seen that on their letterhead and things.
which admin don't show any of. I wholeheartedly believe that whether that's physically, emotionally, mentally, that I don't think any student fully feels safe at Southbridge High School. Because you are always constantly under the fear of being harassed or of being targeted. And I think that same thing goes for teachers as well, unfortunately. I think that school should at least be able to be a place that you are able to feel safe. If anything else, at least to be able to at least feel safe in a safe environment, and that's not that at all. In fact, because I know from talking with other students and from even feeling these feelings myself of having to despise going to school every day, it's a very awful, depressing, anxious environment for a lot of people because of the way that admin are running they're running the school and treating the way that students and teachers, the way that they treat them. I hope that as we go forward in the future, that school committee and the town are able to work together and come up with a better solution going forward so that students, not just us, future students, are not subjected to this awful treatment at Southbridge Public Schools.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I ask the speaker a question?
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz, if I may ask you a question, sir. So you said you're a freshman in high school, is that correct?
Yep.
All right. Did you prepare your statement tonight, or did your parents prepare it for you? Or did somebody else in the community prepare it for you, or are these your words?
Honestly, to be completely honest with you, and I do apologize if my statement kind of sounded disorganized, because I kind of spoke. I didn't really have even time to write down an actual statement. I more or less more wrote bullet points that I had used actually at the last town council meeting, and more kind of one-off kind of how I felt, more or less kind of what came to mind.
You are a very well-spoken young man, so I greatly appreciate your honesty. One more question. You are, you're here and you're out, and you've been out and about. I've seen you a couple times now since these protests have started. Has the administration's treatment of you since you've been publicly in protest, do you feel like you've been targeted personally even more since this has started?
Yep.
And would this be by just the high school admin, or your teachers, or?
Not teachers, mostly just admin.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
What's your name? Max? Can I ask one more question? Your testimony was a little bit broad, which covered a lot of things, which was kind of helpful for us to see your perspective. But I'm wondering, like for us as a school committee, if we wanted to actually take some specific action here, it is helpful to have as many specifics as possible for us to work with. And the more specifics we have, the more that we can actually follow up on particular situations. And I would also say the more, I guess if you were to choose one thing that would be specific that possibly we could follow up on, would you have something in mind?
If I were to pick one thing out of all the things that happened at that school, that would be
one specific detailed thing that we could follow up on.
You mean like a specific incident?
Yes, and if you have something like that, you don't even have to share it now necessarily, but if you even emailed it to me, I'm Erin DeMello, if you emailed it to me, that would be helpful. And particularly if there is something that you have already followed up with admin regarding, and that they've had the opportunity to try to resolve it, and if you feel like that was not resolved adequately, even though you've gone through the process, because that's what we're trying to do here as a school committee even, and trying to encourage the community is we need to go through the process. We need to at least have made every effort that we can to resolve things with the administration, and then if they're still not resolved, then we can act as a school committee. If we go to Dr. Villar and we just say, well, the kids at the high school kind of feel unsafe, that's pretty vague, and that's really hard for us to quantify or feel like any progress has been made. It's just really hard for us to act on. Whereas if there were a specific thing that you could tell us that we could say, okay, this happened on this date to this person, they filed this, or they called admin, or some details, and admin never got back with them, or they never, whatever. If we had something a little bit more quantifiable, it's a little easier for us to even learn our job and to be able to follow due process the way that we're supposed to. So if you have anything like that and would like to email it to me, that would be helpful.
And I can understand where you would probably not want to say it out loud. And I can understand that because it would involve other people. Know that every time you say they dropped their pencil and they couldn't pick it up in 5 seconds, I know that drives me crazy personally.
I'm sorry, could you
I
repeat?
said, drives me crazy. I taught, and at the end of every classroom, the number of pencils that were on the floor that's how I kept pencils in general circulation. So if you have something you'd like to just tell one of us, if you don't feel comfortable, maybe one of your teachers would help you email us. I think that there would be several who would be more than willing to help you.
May I suggest, if you're using a particular person, but you want to leave the name out, but let them know that you are doing it, as privately as you can, so that they don't get in trouble for what you say.
Look around this week. Look around this week. We don't want to put you on the hot spot.
And
Thank you for your kind help, and we'll take care of this.
Okay. I thank you all for your time.
Thank you very, very much. Yes. Name and address?
Hi, I think some of you know me. Jean Costello. I'm over at 34 Main Street in Charlton, and I was asked to come here and hear more about Southbridge Public Schools from friends of mine in the Southbridge system. And after listening and reading in the paper of all the things that have happened in Southbridge Public Schools, especially over the past 30 days, I have but one question for the school committee, which is, where is Dr. Jeffrey Villar? There's been a lot of testimony and a lot of feelings here, and yet he's not here. And that really says something to me, because as me being a school committee member, not having my superintendent present speaks volumes. And I really think it shows where they're thinking about how they feel about the community. And as to workshops, you all know that the Massachusetts Association of School Committees would be happy to come out and give many workshops. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Again, does anyone else wish to speak to the school committee on this or any other issue? Hearing none, close citizens forum.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules and add an agenda item to present.
I would like to do that, but can I do my chairman's announcements first?
That's fine.
Thank you. We hear you. We hear you. The town's heard you. The students hear you. The teachers hear you. We hear you. Having no power is more unimaginably awful than you can think. There are things we would do if we could do it. Unfortunately, right now, you are hitting down. You need to hit up. I learned when I was a freshman in college that if you wanted anything done, you went to the powers that be. You didn't talk to the clerk. You didn't talk to the secretary. You went right to the top. And surprisingly enough, because they had the power to do what needed to be done, it very often got done. I'd like to explain to you how the governance of a school committee really goes. Number one, it's the governor. Maura Healey is the one who is in charge of the state. Number two, it's the Secretary of Education. His name is Patrick Tutwiler. You can email him. You can call his office. You can also email the governor, and you can call her office. The next is the Board of Education. They're a group of people who meet once a month, and they are the ones who really formulate the policy. They are the school committee for the state. You can email them. You can call their office. The next is the Board of Ed appoints the Commissioner of Education. The Commissioner of Education is basically the chief operating officer, the one who actually makes things happen. We have a brand new one. People are talking about doing a vote of no confidence. That was part of the issue with the other meeting the other night. We have a brand new acting, notice acting, Commissioner of Education. He's only been on board for a couple of days. Doing a vote of no confidence against him is, he's not, he as yet is not the problem. The problem were the two commissioners before who put us under receivership and have kept us there and have not given us any guidance as to how to get out of receivership. We have no idea when and how we win this game. You can write to the new commissioner, the acting commissioner. You can call his office. These are the people that you want to talk to. Talking to us, there are things we would do, but we can't. Please think about where your complaints go and how, be respectful. Don't tell them how bad things are and just whine. Make it simple. Most of them only have a little spot on their email thing. You can do 2,000 characters. I know because I have to type it out on a Word document so it will count the characters for me. Tell them specifically what you want to tell them. Don't repeat. Use your words carefully. This is for me. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I just add something?
Pardon me?
Can I add something?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that Councilor Rivas has consistently demonstrated unwavering support for our teachers, students, and parents. Despite unfounded claims suggested otherwise, her commitment to unity and inclusivity is evident. She has shown resilience, compassion, and dedication in fostering a safe and nurturing environment for our students. It's imperative that we remain united and collaborate to further our collective goals. And I do also want to say that I feel like our time is now, and the way we need to be is united. Town councilors, everybody needs to be united here so we can make the process easier and faster. I'm tired of hearing that we have no power. I'm tired of hearing that we can't do anything. I feel students, Mr. Ortiz, thank you so much for coming up here. You're brave and resilient, and I know that's really hard, and having to go to a school where you do feel unsafe. I'm sorry that that's happening to you. And it's something that shouldn't happen. And I really don't feel like telling you to wait and sit. I don't think that's right. And I feel like we need to come together and make things happen because we need something for our students. Thank you.
Erin, you are next.
Yes. Now, I'd like to suspend the rules and make a motion that we add an agenda item and discuss the school committee plan for 2023-2024. If we're going to do this, we would need a second, and then a majority of the committee would have to vote for it in order for us to be able to add the item. So, do I have a second?
What she's talking about is our goals. One of the roles of a school committee is to set the goals for the year. We really can't set the goals for the town, for the school department, because, again, as Carla said, we have no power, and we're tired of that. She's suggesting that we set the goals for the school committee, and I think we'd kind of hedged around it, but we hadn't actually done it. So Erin is suggesting that we do it tonight. That's what she's asking for.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Can we open up for discussion?
Yes, please. I'm sorry.
Okay. On this particular motion, I am going to vote in favor of it, but if you check the school committee rules, which are available on the school's website, the goals of the school committee, as well as the additional rules and everything like that, are available on the district's website. Obviously, the year or the fiscal goals that we would set, we don't have we may not be able to set the goals for the district, and we may not have power over this district, but I don't want it to be forgotten or misunderstood that we don't have any power. We do. We have the power of this meeting, and that there are rules and everything that are in the Roberts rules and in open meeting law in general that will allow us to do certain things that do not relate to the government of the district, but the government of the board. So I'm going to vote in favor of this, but I'm sick and tired of hearing that we don't have power, especially when it's coming from members and it's coming from the chair. We do. We have the power of the meeting. Thank you.
I'm sorry that I was unclear. Yes, we have the power of free speech. We have the power of running our own meetings. We have lots of power, and we have your power. It's just that somehow between our power and the next level, there's a gap. And hopefully, we will stop that gap, because I think people are unhappy.
Are we voting as to whether?
Oh,
we're
I'm
gonna
sorry.
do this?
We need a vote to discuss our goals tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Kathy? Oh, I'm sorry. It's unanimous.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of introduce this, and then we can discuss it as a group. And I just wanted to say this school committee plan for 2023-2024 is obviously very belated. Okay, we started the year way back in July. The last few weeks, a number of people, including town councilors, school committee members, and members of the community, have made public comments to the effect that our school committee, and specifically school committee leadership, had no plan or weren't really doing anything. And I was actually kind of surprised by that, since I thought we were busily doing our job and actually making good progress. And I was really wishing that the people who were making public comments would have sent us an email or sat down to coffee with us so that we could have explained our plan and the things that we were doing to achieve that plan. Many of our town councilors and fellow school committee members have been school committee leadership in the past, and some of them when the school committee was active. And it seemed like they could have quietly offered some very helpful advice. And part of my concern was that we'd been working so hard to try to demonstrate to the state that we were a competent school committee so that we could at least be on the path to get off of the receivership. But we would have a much harder time convincing the state when our own town publicly didn't seem to have a lot of confidence in our plan. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that part of the reason that people felt like we had no plan as school committee leadership was that we had never clearly, publicly laid out our plan at the beginning of the year as we should have. And that was our mistake. And I apologize for that oversight, and so that's what we're trying to kind of go back and do now, late. So our kind of proposed, I guess you could say, school committee leadership goal, or at least, I guess, leadership goal, so this was kind of what we were trying to do, and we're hoping that everyone was on board, but again, we never went through this together. To demonstrate that our school committee is making significant strides toward being prepared for active school leadership. That's kind of general. The means that we were trying to use to achieve that goal was, number one, just to have monthly meetings as a board to give updates, hear reports from Dr. Villar as available, and listen to community concerns. Number two, to have monthly meetings of school committee leadership with Dr. Villar to reestablish a good working relationship with the school administration. Number three, to do occasional visits to observe the schools so that we could see firsthand the progress that was being made or lack thereof, if that's the case. Number four, to have all new committee members, take the Charting the Course training. Number five, to set up additional training from the state to prepare our committee for active school leadership. I have here, and we've tried to pass this out for committee members, report on progress toward achieving those goals. Number one, we have had monthly meetings every month except January due to weather concerns. Dr. Villar has met with us twice to give reports, and the second time, Mr. House also gave an update on the high school. Several parents and students have come to give testimony to the committee. Number two, we've met with Dr. Villar every month at least once. We've made good progress in these meetings, and Dr. Villar has made some comments about possibly moving forward to the next step of being able to meet with the whole committee more often, perhaps in a less formal setting where we don't necessarily need to be on camera, so we might feel a little bit more comfortable getting to ask the questions that we feel like we need to ask and hopefully get the answers that we're looking for. Number three, we've made one visit, as far as I know of, maybe there have been others, to observe the school. The second visit was canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. We do need to follow up to reschedule on that. Number four, all committee members have taken the charting the course training. Number five, the additional training provided by the state is a slow process, but is close to being on the timeline they laid out for us at the beginning of the year. They did find someone to train us, Paul Toner. He did interview each of our members. He is supposed to present a report with training recommendations in February and then begin training. Now, we haven't seen a full report and no training has been done, and it is the end of February, but some of that may be due to the change in commissioner. We have followed up with Paul Toner and Dr. Russell Johnson several times. Dr. Johnson did call the chair to say that he would like to set up training soon. And Paul Toner said that he was recommending as part of his report that some of our monthly meetings should begin to involve discussion of policy and budget. So that's it as far as my part of this presentation. Again, this is way overdue, and if there's any discussion.
I just have one quick comment. The phone call that I got from the assistant commissioner's name is Russell Johnson about additional training was 5 minutes after the commissioner announced his resignation. So it's very recent, within the last week. So hopefully that means it's right at the top of his list. Andrew, you had a statement?
So yes, as far as I'm looking at thank you for preparing this and numbering it and everything like that. It makes it easy to reference. On number two, how it says, Dr. Villar has made some comments about possibly moving forward to the next step of meeting with the whole committee more often in a less formal setting where we don't need to be on camera. Any meeting where we have a quorum, where we're discussing anything school-related, is covered by open meeting law and has to be an open meeting. Meeting with a non-quorum of members is fine, doing that off camera, but I just want to make sure that it's known that that is against open meeting law and that we can't do that unless, there cannot be a quorum and there cannot be topics of school operation discussed with a quorum of the school committee without being an open meeting. And open meetings in Southbridge are broadcasted.
Can I clarify?
Yes.
Madam Chair? Okay. I probably am not as familiar with the law as you are, Mr. Murch, and so I will probably need to look into this more. My understanding was that as long as we kept minutes of the meeting and it were available to the public, that would still be considered a
It would have to
legal
be
meeting.
posted
Yes,
and open.
right. So I think that was being taken into consideration with the plan there, but you're right, we would need to make sure that we were dotting all our i's and crossing all our t's.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I do appreciate at the end of number 5 that our monthly meeting should involve discussion of policy and budget, especially budget, given the Student Opportunity Act and its ever increasing local contribution requirements, which are going to increase, I think, for another 2 more years.
I think you're correct.
I agree with that, and since it is budget season, if I may, at the end of this added agenda item, suspend the rules and make a motion to, or actually, I don't think I can do this here. I would love for the chair, if she may, to potentially create a budget subcommittee. And we do have a budget training that is a matter of public record. Tracy Novick did an open meeting on the budget and what the foundation budget is. Because that is a public record, it is archived and available on YouTube. So I think we can utilize that to start with the first meeting of the budget subcommittee. But I do believe that the creation of a budget subcommittee, it's still within our purview as a school committee. We cannot conduct any business or supervise anything within the district as a budget subcommittee, but that does not mean that it is not a forum for discussion or that it is not allowed according to Chapter 69. Chapter 69 takes away all the authoritative, all the operation authority of the school district and puts it in the hand of the receiver, but not the way the school committee functions. So we can have a budget subcommittee. We cannot make any votes on anything any vote that we make cannot affect any operation of Southbridge Public Schools because we do not have the authority, but we can do that. So I would encourage the chair to create that committee. Thank you.
Thank you. I have 3 answers to his questions. Number 1, next month, well, practically this month, March, Dr. Villar will be here presenting the budget. Number 2, because the town has had some issues hiring and maintaining a first-class treasurer, they hadn't wrapped up their last year's, the 2023 budget. They just, according to the town council, just wrapped it up. So we should have information now, solid information on last year's budget. And yes, I would love to do a subcommittee. Carla, I think you were, I'm sorry, no, I never look on this side. Any questions?
Noted.
Carla?
No, I just want to say thank you, Erin, for creating this. It's really helpful, and I appreciate it. And I just wanted to add that Andrew is correct in regards to what he mentioned on number 2, item 2, with Dr. Villar and having a meeting. I have been speaking with Mildred from MASC, and she's been very helpful. She's actually here tonight. So if you don't know her, I can introduce you. But yeah, it pretty much, you're preventing access to those who want to watch it on TV. So that's how it violates the open meeting law too.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, anyone who is interested in being on the budget subcommittee, just email me and I'll make a group of happy volunteers. Yes?
Well, I'm
Well,
just saying, this guy.
I do remember saying at the beginning of the year that I had someone in mind as a chair for that particular subcommittee.
Okay.
I have not forgotten. And we'll see what other additional information from Freedom of Information that we can get for you. Okay. I did send the committee a whole bunch of information as the meeting is running along and has been very fruitful. One of the things that I did send them is a letter that Holyoke sent to the commissioner requesting to be relieved of receivership. I'm going to again ask for people who are willing to look at that letter and do a Southbridge letter so that in the near future, we can send to the commissioner a letter requesting the end of receivership. Apparently, that is one step that neither Holyoke or we had ever actually taken into consideration. If you'll notice, it gives you all the times and dates and the parts of the law 169, yeah. So I would like, but this has to be a positive letter. This has to say, we've done this, 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 and this, not the problems we have, because we want to say to the state, we want to get out of this. Yes?
Are we finished with discussing the agenda item that we
Yes.
added?
I'm sorry, did we need a vote on it or anything?
No, I don't think so. I'd actually like to make a motion to add another agenda item. Another agenda item, which relates to what you were just talking about.
Okay.
I'd like to add another agenda item to read and discuss the ethics for school committee members section of our policy book. And one reason why I would like to do this is I think it would give us a talking point, either in a letter like that, or with Dr. Villar, or with the state, if we are familiar with our own code of ethics and we're all willing to even maybe take a show of hands that we're all committed to following the code of ethics, then I think that would give us an additional talking point to say that we are ready to move off the receivership and that we are ready for training, that we are basically ready to keep moving forward on this train. So again, I would need a second, and we would need a majority vote if we're going to add this agenda item.
I second. Discussion?
Discussion?
Okay. As elected officials, we are required by Mass general laws to complete ethics training in order for us to hold this office. This seems kind of redundant because in order for us to sit up here, we would have already had to taken this. So it's not really making a talking point because we can't hold these positions if we do not pass that code of ethics training. That is a requirement by Mass at MGL. So I'm going to be voting no in the interest of time and redundancy. We already took this training. You take it every 2 years. As an elected official, you are required to. So I'm going to be voting no in the interest of time. Thank you.
Are we going to vote?
No, I'm going to say something profound. This isn't the ethics training that we take. That's the one that says you can't give your brother-in-law a great job. This is the ethics that it's just the ethics for being on the school committee. This is in our policy book. The reason that I brought it up to school committee DeMello was that we need to start working on our policy book. And I thought this was a good place to start looking at our policies. It is exactly the same as the policy handbook that the Massachusetts Association of School Committees gives us at the beginning of every year. I just kind of was thinking that we need to start looking at policies, and this was an easy, safe one to start with.
Understood. But according to our rules, which these version of the rules that we are operating under were adopted in 2015, this is under member orientation. Quote, the school committee and superintendent shall each assist new members to understand the committee's functions, policies, and procedures of the committee as soon after election as possible. Each new member shall be given the following materials: a copy of the school committee policy manual, which the code of ethics is incorporated in, a copy of the open meeting law, a copy of the conflict of interest regulations, a copy of the district's budget, collective bargaining agreements and contracts, student and staff handbooks, and there should also be written clarification on arranging visits to schools or administrative offices, requesting information regarding school district operations, responding to community requests, complaints concerning staff or programs, and handling confidential information. I am not trying to disparage this in any facet here. I am voting no from my own personal viewpoint. I'm allowed to do that. It doesn't make it wrong. It's just different. But at the same time, with all due respect, when I was brought onto this board in 2019, I received none of these, except for the open meeting law and conflict of interest, which is given to every elected official in the town of Southbridge, as I serve on another board and received those as well. I was not given a copy of the school committee policy manual. Obviously, we do not have any authority over the collective bargaining agreements. I was also not given a copy of the district's budget. We're given that annually now. But that is around budget season, not the current fiscal year that's being operated. So our members this year were not given an FY23 budget. They will receive, our newest members this year will receive an FY24, or excuse me, not FY24, FY25, because that's the next one. So that's going to be the first budget they see. First off, ethics are ethics. It needs to be the first and foremost priority of any governing board. And you were correct in picking this one. This is the best one to pick to start with. But if we're going to try to show that we're trying to actively act as a school, properly act as a school committee, and we're trying to put our best foot forward in that direction, then I honestly think we should start with our rules. And the rules in our new school committee member orientation, which the chair and myself are the two longest tenured members here. We've been elected twice. So a lot of the rest of the committee is still on their first term. Let's start with the rules and just getting our orientation stuff. Because it's not only the ethics that's in there. It's a whole surmise of how we operate, how we govern ourselves as a body. There's a lot more helpful information than just that can help us move forward. Even just being able to go through what's committed into the rules as far as what new members are supposed to get. I think that's actually the better place to start because it covers ethics too, because that's the first thing covered is our code of ethics in our policy book. So I would like to, if you would mind, I would like to amend this to motion to discuss school committee rules, not just the ethics, but the rules in general. And that, because I'm amending your motion, the amendment would have to be voted on before we continue the vote on the motion itself.
I can accept it as a friendly emotion. A friendly.
Does that make it longer?
No.
No.
So
If we're discussing the whole rules instead
nope.
of just one?
I would like to move the question on the motion.
We're not going to do it tonight.
Yeah.
Because now we've made it bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we could do the rest
but
of
he's
it?
correct that if we're going to do this, I just picked one small part. He's right, we need to look at the bigger picture. And I would accept that as a friendly amendment. In fact, I haven't even made a motion. I said that I would like to.
I'll make that motion
Okay.
to amend the previous motion to read and discuss the rules of the Southbridge School Committee. That would be the amendment. Do I have a
So
second?
are we discussing this next time, or are we discussing?
Right now
this-
we're just voting on the amendment.
We're making a motion to begin looking at our policies, and the first one we're going to start with is our rules, the complete rules. And as the school committee member pointed out, there's a lot of information that we need to get from the school department in order to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an excellent
So
motion.
we're not talking about,
We're just going to
doing
make a
it tonight.
motion. We're making a motion, then we'll talk about when and how.
Question,
Yes.
just going back to about, I don't know, lost track of time. 15 minutes ago, I thought Mr. Murch's initial foray into this discussion was for the sake of time. Miss, what's your name?
DeMello.
Ms. DeMello was just confirming what you initially said, which is that this point she's making could be started and completed tonight. Seems like your motion has to do with more future training, unless I misunderstand your meaning.
You are correct, because I believe I made the motion to amend it because we can't just know how to act. We all know how to act. We've all conducted ourselves pretty well in decorum as a board during this year. Honestly, one of the better ones that I've been able to serve on, so I greatly appreciate everybody's camaraderie. But we owe it to ourselves to teach ourselves the whole thing, not just piecemeal the info we need. Though, I'm happy about it. Our policy and our rules starts with our ethics, and we can go from there. If we're going to discuss this, let's cover it, and let's cover it all, not just a portion of it, because I think that's going to be the better benefit. It's obviously not for tonight. That was why I was going to vote no. But with this motion, this would add it to a different agenda as its own separate item, so the public can also be aware of that and have the learning opportunity about the rules. And I think as members, I think that's the direction we need to go if we're going to take this step, not just piecemeal what we want to learn from the rules. Thank you.
I'd like to make a suggestion that I withdraw the memo, the motion, thank you. I could only come up with memo. The motion, and that we put it on the agenda for our next meeting.
Can you withdraw a motion that I made?
Oh, no, I can't,
Like
but
to
you
encourage
could.
me to do it?
I could encourage you.
I don't mind withdrawing the motion. I guess my question would be, if we're getting into March, was next month supposed to be budget presentation?
It is, but we can do two things.
Okay. All right. I withdraw the motion.
Thank you.
Can I make a third motion?
Yes, you can make a third motion.
Okay. I'm suspending the rules again, and again, I apologize. The only reason I think this might be good to go ahead and do tonight, even though obviously it's really late, is that this is regarding some of the testimony that was shared here, which unfortunately a lot of the people who have shared testimony are no longer here. But I'd like to suspend the rules one more time to make a motion that we add an agenda item to read a report from Dr. Villar, giving his perspective on some of the things that have gone on in our high school over the last, month, I guess. So I would, again, need a second and a vote if people are interested in hearing that report.
Is there an amount of time associated with this?
It is about 4 pages, 3.5. So I would need a second if anybody wants to second.
Does everyone have a copy of this? Everyone has a copy?
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay.
Everyone has a copy, okay.
Yeah.
Do I hear any discussion?
I can try to read fast.
Do I hear a discussion? I'm not terrible at hearing about it.
Move the question, please.
All in favor?
Roll call vote.
Certainly. Carla? What?
Voting to add the agenda item,
you wanna
read
read
and
the
discuss report from Dr. Villar on recent events at the high school. We're taking a vote.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Kathy? No. No.
No.
Yes.
Yes. John?
Yes.
Yes. Steve?
Yes.
Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses and 2 noes.
Okay.
Okay. Please note that in the moment that...
Did you vote?
Usually the
Yes.
chair doesn't vote.
No, that's the 6 votes.
But I can vote anyway. I vote yes. Please note in the minutes that Mr. Murch has left the dais. Thank you. Okay.
I just wanted to say really fast, this is Dr. Villar's report, and I think we've heard a lot of people representing the teachers and students, and not just tonight, but in our town. And this report would give Dr. Villar's point of view on some of those things. And I know it can come across a bit like a he said, she said. And I'd love to encourage people to just consider that if you're trying to get to the truth of the matter, I would strongly recommend visiting the high school. I would like to personally go back to the high school again myself. And right now, I think we're feeling like we need to take sides and like we have to choose to either support the administration or the teachers or the students or some combination. And I think if we go observe at the high school, that would actually show support for the students, teachers, and administration. I need to read the report. Thank you. As the state-appointed receiver, I am tasked with improving the school district. I report directly to the Commissioner of Education and work with the colleagues from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to ensure Southbridge has the necessary policies, structures, and staff to ensure the district complies with all policies and regulations. My primary focus is the management and improvement of the Southbridge Public Schools. I do my best to avoid politics. There are times, however, when I need to insert my voice into the political arena to address false statements or misrepresentations. Beginning in the spring of 2023, after we collectively experienced the shock of learning that a student had been in possession of a handgun on school grounds, I began the process of transforming the high school, beginning with the school leadership team and improving the application of district rules and regulations. The goal was to simultaneously improve the safety and security of the school while raising the bar for the academic performance of our students. I promoted Jeff House, the middle school principal, to the director of secondary education. We set to revamp the high school leadership team, and Mr. House developed a plan for training and developing staff. We also engaged in outreach to establish programs to address student mental health, working with UConn, the School Empowerment Network, and most recently, Clark University. I monitored the weekly professional development through the fall and witnessed tremendous teacher growth. While most embrace the changes, a very small group of staff have not progressed or are not interested in the change we seek. This is not out of the ordinary. In fact, we experienced this when we started the process of transforming the middle school. Changing the culture of any organization takes time and will cause some to determine that they do not belong. We prefer all staff to remain and grow as team members, but realize this is not a reality. The recent resignation of 2 ninth grade staff members from Southbridge High School caused many concerns and anxiety among students and families, especially our 9th grade students. Many have questioned my decision to accept the resignations immediately and to place the resigning teachers on paid administrative leave. Personnel matters are difficult to address in public because of privacy matters, even when employees appear unconcerned with their own privacy. As the receiver/superintendent, I routinely have access to information about employees that I cannot share with the public. Therefore, my comments are limited. I can share that I used the information that I had available to me to determine that it was in the best interest of our school to place the 2 teachers on paid leave. Since the resignations, a great deal of social media activity has occurred. Parents and guardians must be aware of the district technology acceptable use policy concerning staff interactions with students. This policy was crafted to protect our students. The policy specifically states, no staff member of the Southbridge Public Schools shall, number 1, fraternize with students using social networking sites such as, but not limited to, Facebook, MySpace, and similar internet sites. 2, contact students via cell phone, text, or instant message except in emergency or previously approved situations. 3, make contact with students except through the district's computer and telephone system unless there is an emergency or if approved as described above. 4, give out private contact information without prior approval. Private information includes staff or student's address, date of birth, grades, attendance, web browsing history, discipline history, or medical records. 5, make inappropriate contact with students, staff, or parents, including sharing items with sexual content, bullying, harassing, or exhibiting or advocating the use of drugs or alcohol. And I'm just going to say, just because you guys can't see the page that I'm looking at, that he just cut and pasted this. I don't think he's saying that these teachers violated all of these things, but he's making sure people are aware of this page of the policy. Parents should be informed if an employee of Southbridge Public Schools contacts their child through any of the sources discussed above. I encourage them to notify the building principal. It is highly inappropriate for teachers to engage in this type of dialogue with students. Professional boundaries are important to establishing and maintaining healthy relationships with students. Teachers are responsible for the well-being of students. Teachers and students are not peers and should not engage in conversations as if they were peers. The resignation of the teachers and the public dialogue in both social media and political circles has taken on a life of its own. Many voices joined the conversation with various motives, and much misinformation was produced and shared. Below, I try to address the most common threads of these conversations. Number one, targeting the high school leadership, particularly the Director of Secondary Education, Jeff House. Mr. House is a dedicated educator who works tirelessly to raise expectations and create a learning environment to prepare students for future success. The incredible transformation of Southbridge Middle School is evidence of his impactful leadership. Attached to this letter are 2 letters of support. One was written and signed by 28 Southbridge Middle School high school educators, and the middle school leadership team wrote the second. The teachers and administrators who wrote these letters brilliantly captured Mr. House's passion for his work. He has my full support because he is making a tremendous difference for Southbridge students and helping to lead the transformation of the middle high school. Number 2, harassment claims. The district strictly adheres to established policies and procedures for investigating allegations of harassment and sexual harassment. We meticulously follow these procedures, conducting and documenting investigations as mandated by law. The district takes all claims seriously, ensuring through investigations and, if warranted, taking appropriate actions. Number 3, IEP compliance. IEPs are governed by state and federal laws, which include accountability measures to ensure all school systems adhere to these plans. There are clear procedures that guide parties to an agreement when there are disagreements about program design, delivery, and placement. Number 4, workplace and educational environment. The Southbridge Public Schools Human Resource Department investigates concerns about verbal abuse toward employees. Meanwhile, school administration investigates instances of verbal abuse between students and teachers. A robust administrative team collaborates at the high school to bolster the school climate and guarantee safety. Number 5, Student Support Center. This center is designed as a welcoming, spacious, and tranquil classroom aimed at assisting students to reset and reintegrate into their classes. It is crucial in reducing dependence on out-of-school suspensions and other punitive measures. The door remains unlockable to prevent confining anyone against their will, with dedicated staff members supporting this space. The local fire marshal inspects school facilities annually for compliance. Number 6, Title IX compliance. The district is committed to meticulously following Title IX policies and procedures. Number 7, instructional strategies. Teach Like a Champion is not a curriculum, but a widely praised book offering educators numerous effective strategies for enhancing instruction across all student ages. Number 8, hallway supervision and bathroom vandalism. Staff members are positioned in hallways during class times to oversee bathroom usage. Despite these measures, there has been significant vandalism in bathrooms. Cameras are installed in hallways for monitoring, but bathrooms which lack doors to restrict access during transitions have been targeted. These bathrooms are designed with privacy stalls like those in highway rest areas. It is appropriate for adults to enter into these spaces in a supervisory manner. The disruption of learning caused by the student protest and walkout is regrettable and unnecessary. I'm proud of the high school leadership's choice to use the event as a teaching opportunity. It was excellent to know that Principal Ortiz and Mr. House engaged in a dialogue with students. However, as it became clear adults were fueling student voices, this is documented via social media, the protest took on a new light. It is not reasonable or appropriate for adults to enlist children in their grievances. Adults calling on students to walk out of school and disregard school administration is irresponsible and dangerous. A school cannot function without structure and order. Since adults added their voices, student vandalism and defiance of school rules have increased. These actions contribute to creating an unsafe environment for our students and staff. We cannot allow unsafe behavior. School administration will work with each student and their family to address inappropriate conduct. Despite the disruption caused by the resignations, the school has progressed all year. The staff is working very hard to provide a safe learning environment. I visit classrooms regularly and see firsthand how hard teachers work to help students master difficult courses and prepare themselves for a successful future. I ask that you join them in support of the change. The students of Southbridge deserve a high-performing high school, and the transformation is well underway. He did attach, and we did not distribute the letters and all the signatures here, but I have seen those, so thank you.
Any comments? So much fun. I will know. Any other comments? People know. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I just?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, you did ask me if you could, and I did tell you to remind me, I'm sorry.
All right. Our Southbridge Women's Club is offering a $1,000 scholarship. The applications have been dropped off at Southbridge High School and Bay Path for anyone interested. So in case they don't let you know about it, they're there.
Quick question, Kathy. Would that scholarship also be available for like private school students and all of that if they're from the town, or is that specifically for students of
Southbridge High
Bay
and Bay Path.
And Bay Path?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 8:46.